take to show that one is a Filipino? And how much nationalist or a patriot are we talking about? Remember that according to the most recent census or statistics office, it says that there are more than 100 million Filipinos today as of 2010. And so we would like to encourage our viewers this time to listen in to us with our guests here on issues like how can we be a Filipino this day? So being a Filipino today, what it is, what it was, and how it should be. I'd like to welcome to the show my friends here in Dynamic Living. I have Mr. Hobart Xavier. He's the director, Xavier Center for Culture and Arts. Good evening po sa inyo.
Good evening, Doc, and good evening to all the televiewers of Dynamic Living and Hope Channel.
Yes, and welcome for the third and the fourth time.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for this opportunity to share.
Okay, and of course, we have our sociologist friend here, Angel Azcuna Colera. Mayang gabi sa mo, Angel.
Mayang gabi, Doc, and thank you so much for having us here. It's a pleasure to guest in your show.
Yes, it's 11 years and counting.
Yes.
That's the longest running show,
Yeah.
so to speak. Huh?
Yeah, congrats.
Really an honor
So,
and congratulations.
I'd like to congratulate all the people behind the show,
Exactly.
actually. It's not me. It's the
Yeah.
people who are producing the shows, the people who are working for the show, including ang mga tao namin sa kitchen, no?
Yeah.
So sila din
Thank you.
naghahanda.
Sarap ng mga pagkain.
Yes, that is true. So I'd like to thank also Mrs. Lianto heading that one, no? So
Yeah.
sila si Jade, sila si Rami, sila Richelle, sila Ayn, sila Jana, and all the cameramen who are helping us out.
Thank you very
that's
much.
that's the reason why we have it 11 years and counting. So let's
Praise
go.
God.
Yes, and let's talk now about
Kudos.
when we say Filipino, Sir Hobart, ano bang ibig sabihin nito? Kasi pag sinabi kong ako ay isang Pinoy, ano ang
Yeah.
ibig sabihin nito?
Well, practically, we have to look at the word in terms of many aspects, like Filipino as a nationality, like this is a definition of people inhabiting the Philippines, and also a fact that Filipino as a language, no, defining our lingua franca, because we know for the fact that the Philippines is geographical siya, no? It's watak-watak siya, meron siyang Luzon, Visayas, at saka Mindanao. And if you look at it also as a trait, Filipino is somewhat, you know, we have our own characteristics and our attributes, no? A positive man or negative. That defines, or those define a Filipino because we have our own sense of oral history, even our local history, and even the fact that we are a group of people who in a general sense define the kind of way of life that we have, and to the fact that we responded also how we were colonized by our
Kaya ko tinanong
colonizers.
sa iyo yan, at the reason why we're featuring this is actually to be able to encourage our viewers and the young people particularly na heto pala ang ating pinanggalingan at pinagmulan.
Yes.
So we would understand where we're going from here to there, di ba? So sa iyo naman, Angel, pag sinabi mo Filipino, sinabi ni masyadong very, yung kanyang, yung kanyang exhaustive, yung
Parang
kanyang definition niya, all-encompassing na yan.
Oo.
Pero ikaw as a sociologist, when you say na Filipino, ano ba ang papasok sa isipan mo?
Well, when you say Filipino, you would have to look at it like kung sino ang pagkatao. It's like the identity of a particular group of people, a representation of this group of people in the global community. And we can attribute that and mention any Hobart that the word Filipino we can trace that from our history as to how the name came about.
Pero it's
Diba?
sad ha,
Oo.
it's sad to note na minsan yung history ng pinanggalingan natin
yes.
at pinagmulan natin nawawala, 'di ba? Para
Yeah.
bang through the years, parang minsan kagaya niyan, minsan nakakalungkot isipin na like for example, yung General Luna, nung pinakita ito, hindi alam ng mga kabataan.
Yes.
Lumpo pala siya. He was the sublime paralytic, 'di ba? Parang nasaan na ang history natin. That's why we really have to inculcate in them again
Yes.
the values of
Oo.
understanding na
Yeah.
pag Filipino ka, heto ikaw, di ba?
Yes.
So my point of view naman is that before history, we have the Philippines already.
Yes,
I mean, we have to attribute also our own sense as a Filipino, regardless of label,
Yes.
regardless of we being named as Filipino, to our ancient history, even through our folklore. Na prior these colonizers came to our country,
May sarili na siya.
may sarili na tayong
Yes.
identidad. No, buti na lang nga sorry, Filipino, taga Bisaya. One thing good about us is that we were not really that dissolved. Our identity was not dissolved as opposed to
Yes.
Mexico, you know, dahil tayo nanatili pa rin sa atin yung kahit we have the Spaniards, still we remained to have our own language. We remained to really struggle in looking at our own identity way back before
kumbaga, ang
colonization.
nangyari lang, parang there was a blending or a merging, pero hindi siya nawala, di ba?
Yes.
Nandun pa rin yung tatak na kung ano talaga tayo. Is there such a thing as, merong talagang physical attributes na talagang totoong Pilipino ikaw? Or is there, wala namang ganon?
No, actually, we are Southeast Asians.
Yes,
no?
Malay. So it's not really that distinctive that when you say that I'm a Filipino because of this nose that I have, because of the color of my skin.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
it's our aspiration,
Yes.
our language, and even the kind of affinity that we have with our faith,
Yes.
our folk practices, our indigenous knowledge.
Ibig sabihin, Sir Hobart, Angel, hindi naman talaga yung ating itsura lang physically
Yes. No,
na
no.
makakapagsabi na ako ay isang Filipino. Hindi ganun
Yeah.
yan, di
Because
ba?
in the
It goes beyond that.
Yes,
Yes.
because in the
Yes.
first place now, in the millennials now, we have the sense of hybridity.
Yes.
Di ba? Marami ng Pilipino na hybrid.
Yes.
But if you try to look at it again, no, physically, a Filipino has this kind of certain height, certain color, certain feature of face. But we have to attribute also, G, that we are really Southeast Asians
Yes.
as well.
Malay.
Malay tayo
Yeah.
So, doon
Malay
din
tayo.
nanggagaling kasi yun yung ating mga, kumbaga, descendants tayo doon, di ba? Pero pagdating naman sa ating mga traits, mga kaugalian natin, meron talaga siguro tayong very specific. If you hear our OFW, our unsung heroes, di ba? When they go abroad, kaya sila pinipili pag nalaman na, ay, isang Pinoy. Kasi parang may nakatatak sa isipan na, heto yung kaniyang kaugalian pagdating sa pagtatrabaho niya. So, do we really have certain traits that would say na, heto tatak Pinoy, Angel?
Yes. When you say Mango, like before, we say that Filipinos are hospitable, but as per observation, now in a globalized world, we now observe how the rest of the world are behaving. Hospitality is also in it. Perhaps we can attribute that Filipinos are, number one, we're known to be happy people. That in spite and despite all the problems that we have,
We always smile.
We always smile, and we can even make fun of the problems that we have.
Which actually
Diba?
reminds
Oo.
me, Sir Hobart, hindi mo napapansin na itong pagiging happy attitude natin, tayo lang yata yung pwedeng gumawa kagad ng maraming mga kung ano-anong,
Mga memes sa social-
for sa social media
Yeah.
na you can
Oo.
always find something to be happy about.
Yes, regardless of baha, regardless
Yes.
of whatever calamity there is, I think what you're talking also about is that the Filipinos now are very resilient.
Yes, oo.
And given our kind of sorry to mention this, but the kind of poverty that most of also of the Filipinos experience, they tend to survive. So the kind of quality or trait of survival or resiliency is also something a very good trait among the Filipinos, as opposed to other people in the other countries have low tolerance of
Yung mga
survival.
paghirap, oo.
Yes, oo.
So, di ba, in other countries, suicide is so
Very
high,
high,
very
yes.
high. But in our country, one thing good about the Filipinos is that we are very relational.
Yes.
And also, when
Yes.
you say relational, Angel, sundan ko lang yung sinabi ni Hobart dito, yung pagiging natin, yung bayanihan spirit.
Yes, that's it.
Tatak Pinoy yan, di
Yes,
ba?
tatak Pinoy yan siya. And it can be, kasi matitrace mo siya, like, what do Filipinos value about? We will really value relationship.
We value also
Yes,
people.
we value people. Yun, kaya sa atin parang natural na kahit pa sa workplace, unfortunately, sa workplace,
Yes.
yung talagang sinasabi na you have to be like black and white, walang mga you cannot, yung bureaucracy na sinasabi ni Weber, hindi talaga siya ma-apply sa Philippine culture. Kasi nga, meron tayo noon, relational tayo. We value
Even
that.
with being clannish and
Yes.
all, di ba?
Yes.
Part ng ating yan.
Yeah,
extended family.
I'd like to point out, I think in the trends of sociology in the Philippines, there is this what you call Filipinology, no, the study of being Filipino. And in that sense also, merong isang libro dito sinulat ni Catherine de Gea, titled Kapwa in the Self of the Others. So we're really very conscious about how others also perceive us, look at us, and look up to us as well. And meron kasi tayong value or trait na we call it yung pakikipagkapwa-tao. So yan talaga, these are part of the network of who we are. Kaya meron tayong ano yan, yung bayanihan system and all. Like for example, a Filipino, if he's hungry, will eventually have food actually kasi maawa din tayo eh.
Bibigyan natin.
That's why we're also very helpful to the beggars actually, no? So that's the kind of spirit that we have.
And these actually are the positive traits na we have, di ba? And even di ba, pag naghahanap buhay tayo sa ibang bansa, yung mga kasamahan natin, they always want a Filipino worker. Kasi aside dito sa magagandang kaugalian na to, ay napaka-hardworking. Siguro related nga sa resilience na sinasabi ninyo, di ba? Na kumbaga ang sipag-sipag talaga.
Yes. Kasi like, may diaspora na nga ng mga Filipinos, di ba? And then, ma-relate natin siya kasi lahat, Doc, because like, we are so resilient, but at the same time, we try to like bear all these burdens kasi I have a family back at home.
Good kasi everyone...
May pinagkukunan yun eh. May pinanggalingan din yun.
So we have to work, we have to do this because of someone, because of something, or because of, you know, these people that we love. So yun yung point. So karga yan, no? We want progress because we don't have progress nga for our own selves.
Yes.
Unlike siguro I'd like to mention some Caucasians or perhaps even the Japanese. The Japanese perhaps want to really like, oh, this is the system that I'd like to work into. But no, sa atin hindi.
Diba?
Doc Jing, lunch tayo together.
Yes,
Ganun,
diba?
But in other countries, they don't.
They don't.
You know, they take lunch or have lunch on themselves, on their own. No?
Kumbaga, hindi nila kailangan na talagang sa akuin pa. Tayo mahilig tayong akuin lahat eh. No? Pero these are all positive traits.
Yeah,
But then
somehow.
again, somehow, meron din naman tayong negative traits, di ba?
You
So,
are
simulan mo.
Okay. Siguro, we can attribute this, we tend to be fatalistic, unfortunately. I mean, in a negative light siya. I mean, how do I say this? Na para bang, okay, yung mindset na, okay, I was born poor,
So, I will die poor.
this is my fate.
This is my fate.
I won't be struggling anymore kasi nga, eto na, di ba? Nakita ko yung parents ko. Wala naman din nangyari. So, mga ganun. But because kasi, if we trace, we were not like that before. But then colonizers came in.
And then they
started like telling us na,
We're indolent.
Yeah, you are indolent. Yung mga ganun na mga ano, wala talaga kayo, hindi kayo dapat mag-progress. So yung mga ganun na mga mindsetting, brainwashing sa atin, unfortunately, until now, carried over pa din siya.
Pero carried over din natin yung ibang mga binigay nila sa atin. Like for example, yung, di ba, may kaugalian tayong ningas kugon. Di ba, isa yan sa pinaka
Yes, oo. We tend to be like, okay na, sige ka na. Oo nga. We work on the last minute. Unfortunately, I'm also part of that. Di ba?
Siguro yung point na I think we have to like revolutionize the concept. That is a concept of how we are so comfortable already.
Yes.
We are contented and whatnot. So people do not tend to strive hard and move out from the box and innovate. And that when we innovate something, then these are overtaken by others because we feel that, you know, we're just Filipinos and they're just so colonial. And, you know, that's the thinking. So the colonial mentality is also something bad.
Yes.
Because we are naturally good. And we're not different from these Americans or these tawag din, mga imperials or these Caucasians. So therefore, our ingenuity, if we are having too much confidence in this or much confidence, shall I say, then we could really prosper.
Yes, that's true.
That's what Japan is doing. That's what Korea is doing.
Diyan tayo
Singapore is doing.
nagkukulang eh.
Yes.
Yung feeling natin ba, yung optimism natin at yung pagiging ingenuous natin, doon tayo nagkukulang, no? That which is actually a negative trait on our part as Filipinos.
Because of colonial mentality.
Yes, kasi then, colonial mentality, side ko lang. Kasi diba, like, our parents before would tell us that you cannot talk back to your parents because that is not good. Diba? That's saan man yan nanggagaling, 'di ba? Kasi may mga superiority yung mga colonial sa atin. So, until now, Filipinos also have this trait na even if may idea ako, ay wag na lang kasi baka baka kutsain ako or baka kasi junior lang ako dito ng office, siya yung senior, so okay lang. So mga ganun. And those are hindrances sa ating development.
Yeah.
Including yung ating pagiging manyana. Di ba? Meron yung mamayana,
Procrastinating.
Di ba parang, I think most of us, maybe not all of us, do have this bad habit also.
Yeah. So I'd like to also point out that, a rejoinder lang of what Angie told us, na this colonial mentality is now translated into our own practice, even in our own offices. We become colonial, neo-colonialist to our other people. So we become oppressive to them. Now, the others also who cannot what do you call it, not assert, but who cannot also confidently show and motivate themselves so that they will be able to prosper, they will also tend to become, they become passive. So they will also have their own manana habit. So they can say, anyway,
okay lang.
Okay lang. Hanggang dyan na lang talaga ako,
So the
di ba?
achievement is not really very high as a factor for them to achieve
Now,
something.
let's go to the young people of today. So knowing na tayo naman, we're a generation back to the new generation. So would you say, both of you, na heto dapat na mga traits, lalo na yung mga positive traits na to, sa pagiging Pinoy, pagiging Filipino, dapat ma-imbibe nila at makita nila at sundan nila yon.
Yes. I think because the challenge, ang dami kasi, di ba, Mart? Ang dami kasi, like for one, it's there's a challenge for our youth today, the millennials, or even the younger generation, like now, to really appreciate our culture, our history, who really are true Filipinos. Unfortunately, i-factor in ko lang, globalized na kasi tayo, di ba? So, there is this challenge as to like, you know yourself first,
Before you
understand others, so that in a way you can like share also you're being a Filipino.
At saka siguro,
diba?
aside from sharing on who you are, it will strengthen you as a person. Kasi mag-grow ikaw in that, in that situation, in that circumstance, knowing who you are, so you become confident.
Ako, I'd like to look into the lens of looking at the lens of appreciating who we are first.
Yes.
Kasi pag wala talagang appreciation, you become more of a Lady Gaga than of your own self. You know, my point is, like, for example, we cannot be good at resources not ours.
Yes.
Ibig sabihin, let's look at what we have, and that something will define us as a Filipino. So appreciation is very important. Second, mahalaga din yung point that we are scholars, we're guiding our students, or we're guiding these young people for the point of cultural promotion. And that in this sense, there is an opportunity of cultural regeneration, so that these students or these younger ones will understand. No? We give them the way. And then the third one is at the point of, we call it a point where they are engaged to the cultural...
When you say engaged, there's active involvement.
Yes, active involvement.
Kung
That they will
they have to
discover their
immerse
roots.
and discover it.
So for example, what are they into now? They're into playing online games. So why cannot we create something, online games, that will promote the Filipino icons, the Filipino history, or Filipino heroes?
Oo nga, bakit wala tayong
ba't walang
ganyan?
Kasi yun nga, we are very colonial.
Mas gusto natin yung gawa ng iba.
Gawa ng iba.
Gawa sa ibang bansa, bago tayo.
So like look for example.
Kahit na siguro sa mga palabas.
Yes,
Mas gusto natin yung ano.
So for example, in Korea, I have to cite this, very good. The national government of Korea really spend amount of money for them to have their cultural tourism. And at the same time, they have films that will talk about their historical legends.
At saka hindi lang yan, Hobart. Heto din ang sa Korea. Talking about Korea, they really promote their own place to their own people.
Exactly.
They're not just inviting, tourists to go there.
It's promoting,
but it's promoting muna sa kanila.
That's what I meant about appreciation, promotion, and engagement. That's what I meant.
Yes, Angel.
Yun. Kasi, it's like, yun nga, ang challenge natin, we were taught na we're not better off. Diba? Mas maganda yung sa ano. So siguro, the challenge now, Hobart, yung work natin as educators, is to let the younger generation, yun nga, balik tayo sa word, appreciate. Foremost, know yourself. Ano bang strengths ng Pinoy? Diba? What do I have that I can really bring into to my family, mag-start tayo, na para ma-proud sila, di ba? Apart, not just really copying. Because come to think of it, we Filipinos, ang dami na nating na-produce sa labas ng mga who had the names, di ba? Magaganda. If I mean, itong sinasabi ko, they were able to accomplish it. Remember, they're Filipinos. Ikaw, lahing Pilipino, tayo lahing Pilipino, kaya din natin yan siya. It's
Kung
just a
kaya
matter
niyang gawin, kaya din natin
yes,
yun.
it's just a matter of like going back to looking into you. Ano bang nasa akin? Sino ba talaga ako? Rather than just looking into outside and then copying. Diyan tayo magkakamali.
Which brings me now to the next one. Ito pag sinabi natin, nationalist ikaw, okay, patriotic ikaw. Ano ba ibig sabihin nito? Magkaisa lang ba sila or magkaiba sila? At bakit kailangan natin, ignite that back, that feeling of nationalism and patriotism to our young people lalo na kasi sila yung susunod sa atin eh. So dapat sila pala ngayon alam na nila ito.
I'd like to look at it also in a sense where there is globalization and that of course all the opportunities now are flat, but what is important here is that no one will lose his or her identity. So I think nationalism is also anchored to the way how a person knows his own identity. Now, in our own place, in our own locality, we have already our own diversity. So one should understand that before going to the global diversity.
Yes.
So kailangan
Even in the Philippines, sa loob muna, you should
kunyari, di ba, kunyari, ang sa Ilocos, iba sila.
Yes.
Pagdating sa mga Lumads, iba din. Pagdating sa Mindanao, iba din. Sa
So
Visayas, so dapat pag sama-samahin natin yun, maintindihan natin yun.
So in that sense, in just a way of appreciating this and being aware of this, ito na yung lead point where you can have your nationalism.
Yes. The sense of identity.
Yeah. So ako, I'd like to take it from there. I can never be nationalist if I don't have my own identity.
And if you don't understand where you are coming from.
And look at this. What is this identity from? No? This identity actually are taken from heritage. History.
And we're very rich in heritage and
Yes.
history.
Folklore. Walang country, walang lugar na walang heritage. All that we have, even in our past, of course the past is heritage, should really be something that will lead us to the kind of nationalism that we aspire for. Kaya nga wala tayong mga masyadong maraming, di ba, remember nung nag-crumble ang na shackle down ang 9/11, yung World Trade Center.
The World Trade Center.
You see the nationalism of all the people because they're able to identify themselves as Americans. Tayo.
And ironically, some of them are migrants, ha?
Yes.
Diba? And then
Hindi
they
sila
have
yung
the...
doon.
Yes.
So ngayon, for example, will Duterte, as an image of a Filipino new president now, will give us the nationalism?
Which actually,
diba?
heto nga di ba? Kasi we know for a fact na nagkagulo kasi yung mga estudyante, may student na, disrespected the flag, di ba? And then here he is running for president with the flag as his symbol, di ba? Of trying to unite the Filipino people. We'll discuss this more when we return. We'll take a very short break. And when we return, we'll continue on discussing being a Filipino.
Yes, of course, I am very proud to be a Filipino because we Filipinos have our own distinct traits and culture, and also our country is very blessed with natural resources that we cannot find from other countries.
Proud ko kay siyempre mga Pilipino ilado sa gawas, then natay yun ba lahi nga kultura dire.
Kay normal kay diri man ta tawo sa Pilipinas, so proud ko as a Filipino kay proud ko sa akong own country.
I'm proud because Filipinos have innate talents and we excel in everything we put our minds into.
Oh, proud ko nga Pinoy ko. Kay kuha man kita na kumakuan man ang Pinoy nga kugihan, excel sila sa butang nga ilang gusto gabuhaton sa sagasa sa kalibutan. Dili sila takulan.
Of course, I am proud to be Filipino because I have my identity.
We just need to support our recent administration for us to be able to have a successful government.
Tabang sa community unsay mga maayo sunod sa ato ang patakaran dire sa ato ang nasod.
Gamay lang ko nga tabang labi na sa mga basura kanang tabang og kanang segregate sa mga plastic sa mga malata mga.
As a student, I should follow simple rules such as going through the right lanes, passing through pedestrian, Kay in simple things, kuan man, we contribute great sa atong government, not only sa atong city but sa atong pong nation.
Nasod is wala ko nagparaya, then wala po ko nagpabadlong sa katilingban. Then ang gusto pa nakabuhaton is ipadayon ang akong binuhat nga wala ko nagpabadlong.
I am a good citizen. I follow the rules. I follow the law to be disciplined. I don't expect much from the government. I also help the government.
Welcome back to Dynamic Living, the Total You, with our episode, Being a Filipino. So, heto na ngayon, ha? Yung sinasabi natin na disrespected yung flag, and then itong isang tao was able to, inspire. I do not know, on a personal level, let's deviate a little bit. Let's talk about it on a personal level. When you saw him, the incoming president, when you saw him kiss that flag and made it as his standard wherever he goes, how did you feel about it, Angel?
No, I feel, I don't know, how do I say this?
How do you describe the feelings that you had?
I feel in him that passion to really like serve the people, that he had that, too early to say siguro, no?
Pero just the passion to
but
serve.
like, yeah, for him to really understand the Filipino, because for me, personally, the flag is a symbol
Symbolizes.
of the Filipino
As a
people,
nation.
as a nation, that we are one. That for him to kiss that, you kiss
Yeah.
anyone because you have that passion, you have that adoration, yung mga ganun na mga feeling.
Ako,
Sa'yo?
I feel that that was really a very good symbol and semiotic and extension of will
Yes.
to lead a nation.
Alam mo ba na ako, when I saw that the first time, I cried.
Yeah.
Kasi parang
Yun.
I was so touched, knowing na here is a person who is showing us again what it is to be
Yes.
proud
Oo.
and to be truly a Filipino,
And I
diba?
think that was not a show-off. It
Hindi,
was really
not. It was
sincere.
sincere.
Oo.
Makikita mo, mafe-feel mo yung
Yeah.
passion niya for that.
However, perhaps I would suspect that during that time, he would also have a lot of things in his mind. He never thought that that act is something that
will draw us in,
Yeah,
eh.
draw in and makes people think about the country and his perspective
Yes,
as
that's
a
true.
leader as well.
So let's now proceed further. Hetong flag na to, which he used as a symbol, heto bang flag na ito, Angel, is really truly important for a country?
Yes, it's very, very important. Like, balik tayo sa napag-usapan natin kanina, Doc, di ba? Like, we Filipinos, if you look at us physically, we're no different from ASEAN, di ba? From our Southeast Asian brethren. Unless if we start talking, unless if we start behaving, that's that. So the flag symbolizes is a symbol of our nation, us as a Filipino. That, the word ba na symbol, it's so sacred because that represents you. Wherever you may go abroad,
dala mo yun
dala mo yun,
Pero
di
which
ba?
brings me to mind na, bakit pa yung mga students na yon na nasuspend, they were making fun, di ba?
Unfortunately,
they were
oo.
disrespecting the flag. So, paano natin turuan ang ating mga kabataan to show respect to the flag?
Siguro, no, we have to go back to understanding Filipino tayo. And this is the symbol of who we are. How do I articulate that? Siguro si Bart matutulungan niya ako dito
sige
ngayon.
nga,
Oo, kasi
Bart.
baka academic lang ako
Paano
masyado.
yung ano?
Oo.
No, sa akin kasi, I'd like to take it also as a point where myth-making is very important in
Ayun.
defining the world. Mythology is represented because one is according a definition of what is a culture there is according to a particular country or a place. So for example, ang flag semiotically represents the ideals, the feelings, the
Kasi
aspirations.
makikita mo naman anong
Oo.
laman ng flag,
Yeah,
di ba?
of a
Yung tatlong
Filipino.
kulay.
Yes.
O,
And
yung
anong
stars and sun,
pinanggalingan?
di ba?
Yung context. Okay, ganito yun siya, Ma'am Doc Gina. The flag in itself is a text.
Yes.
Meron siyang context.
Meron siyang ibig sabihin.
Meron siyang pinanggalingan. May
Pinanggalingan,
konteksto siya. Meron din siyang subtext. Ano siya, ibig niyang sabihin. Therefore, a flag has a lot of history, a lot of people fought for that, no? Kung anong nire-represent niya.
Yes.
Therefore, aspiration, expression, feelings are there. A nation is there. Therefore, it can never be just
Taken for
Yes.
granted.
yeah,
Yes.
or
And it should
disrespected,
disrespected.
or something. So what do we teach? these students or these young ones should understand like how it is to be taken away of how will their identity be taken away from them?
Be trampled
Even
on.
their name will be trampled on.
That's true, di
So
ba?
it's just the same.
It's the same.
Yes.
So,
They will
paano
feel
yun, di
the
ba?
same.
But sometimes kasi, heto nga, di ba? Parang nakakapanindig balahibo. Nung nakita natin, there was a day just recently wherein most homes, most of the cars were just, waving the flag. Di ba? Parang nandun siya
Yun,
Kasi,
oo.
ibig sabihin, we're so proud of being Filipinos.
Filipinos,
Ha?
oo.
So, paano yun, Angel? How do we teach the young people, the young generation, na heto, hindi lang siya simbolo, kundi dapat intindihin nila na at isalaoben nila, they have to understand and imbibe, na kanila ito at dapat nila ipagmalaki ito.
Yes, but alam mo, Doc, we have actually, one of the achievements I consider of former President Ramos was enacting a law on how to really respect the flag. We have the Flag and Heraldic Code of the Philippines, which was enacted in 1998, if I'm not mistaken. And nakalatag doon kasi yung mga protocol kung paano siya irespeto ng flag. Siguro, we start from there para malaman natin. Share ko lang ng experience. We Filipinos so greatly respect our flag that even the folding of it, meron tayong system tayo, at meron tayo kung ano na siyang shape, di ba?
Hindi siya po pwede na
hindi lang
i-fold mo lang basta-basta parang damit.
Yung mga ganun na parang damit lang siya because it's not an ordinary piece of cloth. Even the color, even yung ganun. Kaya, siguro we share lang siguro like the simple ways for them to respect it. Siguro that you cannot, when you hold the flag, you cannot let it touch the floor. Whatever size that is, you cannot let that touch the floor because otherwise that would mean to say nga, okay lang sa akin
Inaapakan mo.
inapakan mo, di ba?
Para bang inaapakan mo rin yung pagiging
Yes.
Pilipino.
oo.
Ako, I'd like to say also that the flag is the collective dress of a Filipino. Meaning, it's not a personal dress. It's a
Yes.
collective dress. And the song, Lupang Hinirang, is the collective soul of our nation.
And di ba, magandang kaugalian na alala ko nung araw, ha? Pag naririnig mo, pagtugtog ng Lupang Hinirang, everybody stops what they're doing.
Yeah.
Even crossing the street, you stop. You just put your hand, on your chest, di ba?
Yes, oo.
And then you sing if you can sing, but if you cannot sing, just stop and make that symbol, di ba? Because you respect.
Yeah. But now, unfortunately, in
Baliwala.
cinemas,
Wala, oo.
oh my God, in the last full shows in cinemas, you know what I do? I tell them, "Oy, you stand up, you sing." Kasi talaga nagagalit ako. So I'm like, hindi naman nagagalit, pero I'm so
Disappointed siguro? No.
Parang hindi. I want to like exercise my being a cultural worker. So I tell them, please stand up. This is our Philippine national anthem.
Hindi nila
So that's our
ginagalang
voice.
na di ba? Dapat talagang meron tayo at ibalik natin yan.
Yes.
Ang pagiging nationalistic.
Yeah. Let's remind them that.
Yes.
Remind them of that. Shall I say, for example, sa internet, pwede natin gawan natin ng video, yung YouTubing, na how it is to respect the flag.
Yes.
Pwede siguro ganun. Kasi,
Yes, kasi malakas ang YouTube, malakas ang
Social media.
media,
Yeah.
di ba?
Oo.
And as a matter of fact, this is proven, no? Na yung recent lang na
Yes.
elections na to, di ba? Social media was a huge part of
Yes,
all of these
oo.
movements.
Proof talaga ng mga Filipinos or Facebook users, no?
Yes.
Let me digress a bit. Let me go back. If ayaw nilang makinig sa teacher nila na galangin yung flag, siguro baka sa social media pwede nang
Makikinig
gamitin.
sila. Oo.
Makikinig sila.
Kasi makikita nila at gusto
Yes.
naman nila yon, di ba?
Oo.
Which now, moving forward, pag sinabi nating being Pinoy, being Filipino, meron din tayong mga traditions, di ba? So aside sa mga traditions na yan, hindi naman natin sinasabi na wag tayong magbiyahe sa ibang bansa.
Oo.
Pero di ba, tangkilikin muna ang sarili natin.
Yes, that's part of knowing who a Filipino is and what can we offer
Yes.
to them. Alam nga
Travel.
naman, travel, because travel is part of learning, di ba?
Yeah. And in that sense that there's so much beauty in the Philippines.
Yes.
You know what? I think I should really be able to go to Batanes and be able to know the Ivatans. I've been to Panay already, and I've been also to some parts of Mindanao. But there are so many other parts that I have not been to. So I think one thing, one will lead you to appreciation is for you to travel
To
as well.
travel.
Yes.
Know the people, know the culture, and by going to their museums, and be able to watch performances.
Diyan mo makikita na culture and arts has a huge impact
Yes.
Kasi heto sila ang magpapakita sa ating mga kabataan,
Yeah.
kahit sa atin ngayon,
Yes.
na heto, dito natin nakikita ano ang pinagmulan at
Yes.
saan tayo nagmula.
You know what, Doc Jean? Cultural understanding is one of the keys to peace. Kasi
Yes,
pag naunawaan mo ang kultura ng ibang
Yes,
tao, hindi ka maging
Judgmental.
Yes.
Hindi mo ibabaliwala
Hindi ka maging
yun.
racist.
Hindi ka maging racist.
Yes,
ganun.
Kasi
oo.
di ba, dahil
Ethnocentric.
naiintindihan mo siya.
Exactly.
And
Totoo.
I think that's the drive that we should have.
Yeah.
Being
Yes.
able to adapt, or not really adapt, but to understand the
Yeah.
cultural differences,
Yes.
varieties, and diversity.
Masasabi ko, balik lang tayo slight Dok, yung traveling. Kasi sa akin personally, I have this bias when it comes to like the word, I'm a tourist. Kasi it's like this, if you say, I go as a tourist, I'll just look ano yung maganda dun sa lugar. But when you say traveling, you really get to know the
Yeah.
people, the places, their history, their values and all.
That's why I'd like to interject as well that travel should be a very foremost concern sa ating tourism. Bakit? Ang ating tourism kasi masyado lang siyang natural adventure. How about cultural tourism?
Dapat
How
isali
about
natin yan.
ecotourism?
Yes.
Like for example, you go to Vietnam. I went to Vietnam. And you know what? Their war history is a
The
point
Cu Chi
of
Tunnel.
It's a point
travel.
of travel.
Yes.
Is a point of tourism where people will understand, what
Bakit
happened
ganun?
to
What
them.
happened to them?
We have the death march, but is there a death march? this year?
Unfortunately, wala
Ah,
siya.
mga ganon.
All the markers
So,
already gone,
yeah,
unfortunately.
So, yun yung mga point. Beyond the markers, I think is also the practice where travel is a point of learning history and heritage.
Diyan tayo nagkukulang yata.
Oo, sorry to mention this.
Kailangan siguro natin yan, ibalik,
Oo.
isama, at i-integrate
It will
siguro
not
There's
just
natin.
be enjoyment.
there's nothing wrong about Boracay.
Yes.
But if you go to Boracay only to party,
That is, you lose
Yeah,
the chance,
loses,
the
yes.
opportunity to learn, di ba?
Yes,
Pero if you go to Batanes, you go to say for example, dito lang sa atin,
Yeah.
sa Cagayan de Oro, punta ka doon sa Malasag, o kaya naman
You go
pupunta
to
ka
Xavier
sa
Museum.
Xavier Museum. Di ba?
Capital University Museum.
Marami ikaw matututunan when
It's
you
like
go.
this, people, culture,
food.
food culture,
Yes, oo.
arts of the people. If you go to Cambodia, they have this really capitalized.
Makikita
Yes.
talaga na yun ang
Even the
kanilang
landmarks are there.
Yes.
Ang problema kasi natin, we're not so sensitive of our kind of development. Culture and the arts, Doc Jing, is really or are pillars of sustainable development.
Or maybe it's not really not being sensitive. It's more of it has been lost along the way.
No,
kasi
because-
nagkaroon ng ibang pinagtutuunan ng pansin. And we have this colonial mentality
Because
going back
our
again.
development is so colonial.
So colonial.
Okay, for
oo.
example, in Vietnam, may puno dyan. Right? Tapos, kailangan nila nagdaan. Hindi nila yan pinutol.
Yes.
They have to
Ginawan
like,
nila
ginawan nila
ng
maganda.
daanan para ikaw pwedeng dumaan
Oo.
doon.
They're very naturalistic. That's why wala silang masyadong calamity. Tayo,
Lahat
the bukid,
puputulin natin.
Oo, flatten.
patagong siya, kailangan ng mga subdivision.
Yes,
Eh, mangyayari.
Oh,
Yun
wala
eh.
na,
This is really a sense of kanabang cultural amnesia, environmental apathy, and
Yes.
whatnot.
And if you really, kung dudugtungan mo pa yung mga ganyan na apathies, look at where it has brought us, di ba?
Yes.
So tayo din naman na nagsasuffer. Now, let's go to
Yeah.
food. Di ba, ang Philippines is very rich in terms of food na
Yeah.
pwede natin ipagmalaki. Di
Yes,
ba?
ang
Dapat
dami.
tangkilikin natin ito. And even the products, di ba? Heto mga produkto natin, mga banig,
Yeah.
etong mga baskets na yan, yung mga dekorasyon natin, hindi ba dapat ang dami nating magaganda?
Dapat siya, Doc. Like, Bart have been to Cambodia, to Vietnam, visited. Also in Thailand, ganito siya kasi sa kanila, di ba? They have the malls, okay? They have these mga brands, international brands. Pero
And
sa
yet-
side nga niyan, andun yung mga local products nila.
Which,
Diba? And
actually
people are
we are
flocking into.
which actually we
Diba?
are having na slowly, di ba? So
Slowly, oo.
if you go to the big malls now, kahit sa mga department stores or groceries, meron na tayong
Meron
ganyan.
na, oo.
Kaso lang ang nakakalungkot, pag ang makikita mong pumupunta doon at bumibili ay ang mga foreigners, ang mga
foreign,
tourists,
yes.
but not the Filipinos.
Ako, my point also for the gastronomic aspect or the food culture, there's nothing wrong with us being colonized by the Spaniards, but our food really is like about 60 60 to 80% Hispanic or 60 to 8,
Kasi matagal sila
75%.
masyadong
Yes,
dito.
kaya nga madami nating sarsa, gano'n. Okay, if that defines the Filipino food. But there is also what we call our cultural foods among the Maranao.
Yes,
cultural food
kung
among
matitikman mo, masarap na
among the
masarap naman.
tausug, among
Yes.
the tiboli.
Yes.
Ano, you know, kabulok ka, yung tawag yan, yung piaron, yun pala yung inununan sa,
Oh, really?
that's the inununan, fish inununan of among the Maranaos.
Masarap yun.
Piaron, ang napakasarap, ano yung mga ganon, di ba? Kasi pumunta ka sa Marawi,
Yes,
di ba?
so alam ko yun, pinapakain nila ako ng
these things.
Na-appreciate ko, even their delicacies,
Yes, dudol,
yes,
you know.
when you try
Yes,
this,
yes.
napakasarap naman
Yes.
pala.
Kasi like for example, lechon is not Filipino. Kinilaw is not Filipino.
not,
Si Viechi yan, di ba, sa Spanish. Pero try to explore more of our cultural communities' food. Doon mo makikita. Sana ito yung maha-highlight. And of course, marami namang mga si Claude Tayag, yung mga food scholars. I think they're now trying to like mainstream also this kind of food. Nga naman. Try to look at that. We have Vietnamese restaurants here. We have Thai restaurants. We have Turkish restaurant. Pero wala tayong Maranao. Meron Maranao halal, meron. But for
Halal
them.
lang siya. Halal
Pero
lang siya na
yung mga,
generic.
hindi yung mga tourist na pupunta doon.
Maganda
Dapat
yung,
meron tayo.
dapat i-enhance natin
Yes.
yan. Pagdating naman, heto, isa sa mga, ng mga kabataan, hetong mga laro nung araw. Heto
Yes.
nawawala na rin, di ba? Yung mga
Oh my God.
patintero. Di ba? Yung mga,
You know what, Doc Jing? That's because of the digital media. Ang nilalaro na lang nila ay gadgets ng
Gadgets,
mga
yes.
Candy Crush, mga
pero
gano'n.
di ba dapat, Angel, masaya dapat itong nilalaro ng ating mga kabataan. And it should even be part of what we should be showcasing.
Partly kasi, di ba, if you look at tayo, Bart, nung sa elementary pa tayo, meron talaga part sa curriculum natin na may mga
Laro
ganun,
ng
di ba,
lahi.
larong lahi. Pero ngayon kasi, if you go to their schools, wala na. Yung PE nila, wala na gymnastics, di ba? Western na siya.
Aerobics
so,
na.
aerobics, yung mga ganun.
Taekwondo.
Oo.
Pero bakit hindi natin ibalik ulit? Para
yung
naman,
arnis,
yung mga arnis, di ba?
mga kumdisi, kumbuko.
correct.
Pero actually, there are efforts of really reviving and retooling the promotion of our Filipino mga laro ng lahi. No? So, ang maganda lang talaga nito is to expose them. I think they will still enjoy. Mga tumbalata, mga takyan, mga, all of these.
Ano ko lang siya, kasi etong mga games, it's a cooperative games, di ba? It cultivates that sense of
Camaraderie.
cooperation,
Yeah.
camaraderie
Yes.
sa mga Pinoy. Kasi ngayon din, as you observe, mga younger generation, sorry ha, pero like, ang taas kasi ng apathy because they tend to be individualistic kasi wala na.
They
Sila
want to
na
be on
lang,
their own.
di ba? On their own, they're playing the
Siguro
tablets
maganda
and that.
din yung point na we will not stop for it. Meaning to say, we will really provide the access. Kaya, in Xavier, we really have a laro ng lahi. We make sure that, there is that slant when we celebrate.
Kailangan naman talaga siya.
Yes.
Kasi the only way we will be able to encourage them is for them to see na meron ito.
And experience talaga.
Experience it
Oo.
firsthand,
Pero
di ba?
Doc Jing, I also would like to tell you, the physical image of this is just a tip of the iceberg. But the desire of our Filipino traits, even Filipino culture, and Filipino games, and Filipino food is really there. Hindi yan mawawala practically. We'll just lead them the way. We'll just give them the opportunity to do that, and they will really like that.
Yeah, I know.
Kasi-
Kailangan lang, tama ka, pag sinabi mong lead the way for these young people is actually to show them how and what and where it is,
Yes.
di ba?
And
That's
that would
what-
make them appreciate, ganito pala ang Pinoy.
That's
Kasi parang
what
may
you call-
gap na,
Yeah.
so ako pinanganak ako, tas ito na, and the rest of the world is doing it. So
Yeah.
paano ako? Sino
That-
ako?
Cultural regeneration.
Yes.
And makikita ninyo, one beautiful thing they're doing, hetong sa mga furnitures, alam mo ba na meron silang, yung sa world trade na yan, they always showcase Philippine products. Diba? So, ang gaganda, if you see, napaka-resourceful, napaka-ingenuous ng ating
Yes.
mga artists when they put that into real things, diba? And so, these are the things na, sinabi mo nga, cultural regeneration.
Yes.
At saan magsisimula yan? Kung di sa atin.
Yes.
At ang pagiging Filipino natin, magsisimula sa atin din.
And of course, it's also about creating audience, creating consumers, so that our artists, our mga furniture designers will be supported.
Yes.
Ang laki ng ingenuity, wala namang
Walang
bibili sa atin.
opportunities.
So what
Walang
happened is they bring
opportunities.
this outside. Kaya celebrities from Hollywood
They buy
buying
that.
buy
in, di ba?
Kobonpue designs, di ba?
Yes.
So, titingnan mo, sa Cebu lang yan ginawa eh.
Yes.
So that's how ingenious we are. So, kaya there's no room for sabihin na wala tayong progress. Pa-progress talaga ang Filipino.
Yes.
Of course, there will always
Marami
be
tayo.
progress, lalo
Yes.
na pag tulong-tulong tayo,
Ah.
di ba?
Yes.
And which we ably demonstrated recently, di ba?
Yes.
Na kaya pala natin maging isa
I
at
hope-
magkaisa.
I'm so
I hope
excited.
this administration will
Will be
really be able
able
to
Yes,
look at this
oo.
dimension of culture and the arts, knowing history and knowing our heritage as a pillar of his kind of development that he
Sa
wants
tingin
to
ko
plan
naman,
for.
I'm very upbeat na he would eh. Kasi di ba, lagi niyang inuulit na there are cultural differences
Yes.
na dapat maintindihan
Yes.
para tayo magkaintindihan,
Yes.
di ba?
Yes.
That's why what I'm planning to do is that perhaps in the next 4 months, we'll really come up with a forum on creating an agenda on culture and the arts that come from I'll say from Mindanao, and we'll really bring it up to him.
Yes,
in
napakaganda nun
his
because
government,
that means you
his
are now being
administration.
proactive so that, in the long run, heto yung magiging daanan natin papunta kung
Yes.
saan dapat tayo, di
Yes,
ba?
pick up ko lang din, Doc, yung sabi mo proactive, that's what we need also this time. We can't just be audience and let other people do. You have to participate,
We
get
cannot
yourselves
just-
involved,
yeah.
engaged.
We cannot
Okay.
just become critical without doing
Yes,
anything.
yes.
Yan yung ginawa kasi sa ERAP na time eh. Ito, I'm afraid if people will also meme about Digong, sana hindi. People will just look at how we can optimize and maximize the willpower that he has.
Yes.
So, but we
And
cannot...
the support.
Yeah. We
Yes.
cannot say na siya lang ang gagawa niyan. So,
Oo,
kailangan natin
tayo.
siyang tulungan.
Di ba yun lagi ang sinasabi natin lately, the past few days and weeks, na the change must start within us.
Yes.
It should not just be from one
Yeah.
person, di ba?
And let's
Kumbaga,
articulate that change.
We have to be able to do that inside
And
ourselves.
because of that, nakikita na natin ang hope of the kind of nationalism you're asking for
Yes.
and the kind of patriotism you're asking
That
for.
I have been asking you, and
Yes.
which we have actually. Kaya yan yung reason why we really have to air this episode, because I believe this is the best time for us to engage, to encourage, and inspire each member of the country, di ba?
Yes.
Bawat Pinoy, being a Filipino. Napakabilis ng oras ko dito sa Dynamic Living the Totally. Tapos na po ang aking isang oras. I'd like to thank my guest.
Thank
Angel,
you.
what is
Thank
your
you.
message to our viewers?
Eto na tayo. Sinasabi nating change. Let's do this. We can do this. Kaya natin to.
What about you, Howard?
Sa akin naman is, let's marvel and be glad all the time of our Filipino-ness that goes with Filipino imagination and Filipino aspiration, will, and of course, a point and opportunities of cultural education, artistic excellence. Ito yung mga mahalaga eh, no? Pangatlo, yung point where we have cultural understanding among our cultural brothers and sisters and be able to take our opportunities of helping the marginalized.
Yes.
Yan yung mahalaga din.
Okay. Remember, dear viewers, that commitment, passion, service embodies what a Filipino should be. Proudly Pinoy. Yun nga ang sinasabi natin. And we can always be proud of being Filipinos, especially during these times. And even in Philippians 3:20, sinabi din doon, for our citizenship is in heaven. So our citizenship right now is in the Philippines, and we are looking forward to far greater heights, leading the way, and we hope for a better Philippines for all of us. Magandang gabi po sa ating lahat.
Of course.
Sometimes. Why not? Yes. My brother.
My mom. And of course, my dad.
The policeman. Boss. My teachers.
My grandpa.
When I'm threatened.
When he stares at me.
When I hear his whistle. When they raise their voice.
When they call me by my full name.
Whenever he calls me like this. Hey, come on, bro. Because they're the law.
He's older than me.
My grade would be at stake.
They're my parents.
Since I'm younger than him, I'll be fired if I don't. You know.
Obedience
Is more than a state of being obedient.
It is our
Willful practice of obedience. Conscious
decision
to obey policemen
to obey your
and
parents.
teachers. It means submission to the rules
which are meant.
to keep us safe. Likewise,
Obedience.
it's a manifestation of love. I respect my
I love
parents.
my mom. I love my
Older
dad.
brother.
Besides,
It says we obey
our grandparents,
our older brother, people of authority, our
our
boss,
parents, in the Lord.
Lord.
For this is
That's right.
To me, the joy, which money cannot buy.
Lee and very hospitable, and most of all,
Take part of your operation.
Dynamic Living returns with new episodes now on Mondays, 6 to 7 p.m. Dynamic Living, the Total You on Mondays. Aduna ka ba'y buot masayran sa kinabuhi? Aduna ba'y kagawasan sa sala o kasakit? May paglaong pa ba ang mga minatay? Unsa ba'y padulngan sa kalibutan? Mga higala, ipangutana kay pastor. Ipadala ang imong mga pangutana ug tubagon ni pastor gamit ang Biblia. Pangutana Pastor, usa ka serbisyo gidalit kaninyo gikan sa Hope Channel.
We are people, and we love to get connected. We connect as families because of birth. We connect as friends because we click. And we connect as communities because we care. Seventh-day Adventists are people who connect in communities called congregations, which in turn connect to form conferences, who connect together to form unions, divisions, and the General Conference. Why do we connect? It starts with a connection to the Creator, who invites us on a spiritual journey. When we journey together, we can help each other along the way. This journey is a journey of a lifetime. And as we learn and grow, life becomes filled with meaning and purpose. Our greatest joy is in helping others along the way. Wherever you are on your journey, we believe that we have something to offer that can make your life more whole. So the next time you see a Seventh-day Adventist, remember, you're not looking at someone who stands